Alright, hello and welcome to some more predictions. Yeah, I meant to do this yesterday, but I kinda ran out of time, which I apologize for. Because we had to do the career mode, and I didn't really have any time in the morning because I was working in the morning. So we didn't get any time to do this. But I'm gonna be doing both of them today on Twitch. Both League One and League Two today on Twitch. League One will be up tonight on YouTube, and then tomorrow for League Two, if that makes sense. Which it might do, it might not do. So before we start, let me get this bloody shit to work again on my phone. Oh, for crying out. Where is it? There we go. Right, so, of course this is a League One predictions, and I'm just going to say out the gate, before we get into it, out of all the leagues, out of all the four leagues I'm going to be predicting, I think League One is probably the league with the least amount of ball knowledge I've got. I mean, I've not got a lot of ball knowledge for any of the EFL leagues, Championship, League One, or League Two. But out of those, League One is probably the one with the absolute least because there's no teams I'm interested in that league. Championship's just interesting because it's a route to the Premier League, and League Two is interesting because I like Bradford. So that's why I'm interested in League Two. So League One's like kind of in between league where I'm not really too fussed. I don't really know a lot about it, so I'm just gonna say what I'm seeing on my screen in terms of transfers. I recognize a couple of names, but I'm not gonna say whether they're good or bad because some of them I don't know whether they're good or bad. I'm just gonna say the transfers and then I'm gonna say the position of where I put them in alphabetical order, of course, as well. And if you're not picking this up, if this isn't making any sense, I understand it doesn't make a lot of sense. But there is a spreadsheet in the description to detail the full predictions if you don't want to watch the whole, I guess, talking part of this video because it's not going to make a lot of sense. I don't really know a lot about League One, like I said. So, without further ado, let's stop wasting time. Let's get into it with our League One predictions. My predictions come this time next year. Can't wait. Yeah, no, I'm excited for this. Though Lorax and Trees game, it's not a Barnsley career mode. I'm just predicting where League One teams are going to finish. Again, this is the one I've got the least knowledge about. I done the Championship yesterday, and I'm already regretting some of them. League Two will be on later today, and uploaded tomorrow. So, without further ado, we'll start with Barnsley. I don't know a lot of players that they've signed. I'm going to be straight up with you. They've signed Lopata from Woking, Lofthouse from Woking, Killip from Hartlepool, and Dallas from Solihull Moors. They've gone for a lot of non-league talent, which is interesting. But ultimately, they haven't lost too many talents. They've lost Anderson to Luton, that's the big one, and Collins to Coventry. Those are the big ones, but realistically from there, they've not lost a lot of players that were going to feature anyway. So I predict they're going to have a decent season. I don't think, and I haven't actually predicted a playoff winner yet, so I'm going to do that real quick. But I've put spoilers. I put Barnsley in the playoffs. I put them in fifth place. I think they're going to be in there. I think they're going to be in the playoffs by the end of the season. I don't think they're going to win them, however. I think it'll be another season for Barnsley in League One. So I'm just kind of reading the ins and outs of the teams and kind of just... It's just pretty much guessing, I guess. Because I don't know League One from my arsehole, pretty much. Up next then, Blackpool. I wish you hadn't got relegated, to be honest. I quite like Blackpool, but they were not good enough to survive, obviously. Hence why they got relegated. Quite a bit of business from other clubs around them. Chapman from Bolton, Morgan from Charlton, and Pennington from Shrewsbury. They've also signed O'Donnell from Rochdale, who I remember in my Bradford City career mode, so I do recognise that name. And then they've promoted from within as well. But a lot of departures, including Jerry Yates to Swansea. That's the big one. But a lot of departures means I don't think, and this might be bold, it might be a weird prediction, I don't think they're going to get playoffs this year. I've not predicted them too far down the table. I've put them in 7th. I've put 7th for Blackpool, and I feel like that's probably accurate. They've lost a lot of talent, haven't replaced them all, and I just don't see them going back up this year. They might go back up soon. I just don't see it this year. 7th place is not bad, and it's, I guess, the playoff race. They're in the playoff race. They'll just miss out, though, unfortunately. So that's where I put them. Up next is Bolton. Now, this one was a hard one because I can't really predict Bolton from one year to the next because I feel like they should have been promoted maybe a season ago or 2 seasons ago. They're still in League One, and I'm going to be dumb here, which is kind of my experience, what I'm experienced in, stupidity. So, Bolton, I'm predicted to go up. And I'm predicting them to go up automatically. I've put them in second place. They haven't done an incredible amount of business, but they've got some decent players in. They've got Coleman in from Ipswich, Dacres Cogley from Tranmere. They've brought in Baxter from the Chelsea under-21s. I don't know how good he is, but if he's from the Chelsea under-21s, he must have had a good start at least. Lundulu from Southampton, and then Carlos Mendes from... is it Carlos Mendes? It might not be him. I recognise the name. He's from Luton anyway. They brought him in, which is a big signing. And I think they've got enough quality now in League One to go up. They have lost some players as well. Kachunga, Chapman, Senior, Dixon. They've let some go on free agency. But I think they've got a good enough squad once again to go up to Championship at this point. And we will see if that's true. It might be wrong. It probably will be wrong on my luck. But I reckon second place for Bolton this year at automatic promotions. Bear with me, guys. Don't know why, but I always have issues with my nose whenever I stream. It's like my nose has got stage fright when I fucking stream. It's so annoying. Anyway, up next, Bristol Rovers. I think they're going to have a decent season, you know. They've signed some good talents in that I do recognise some of. They've signed Friend from Birmingham. They've signed Giovanni Brown from Exeter City. And even if he's not the best in real life, he terrorises me in career mode. So I'm basing it off of that as well. Thomas from Barnsley as well. Some good business. And they've only let 3 players go. Well, it's let more than 3 players go, but only on permanent deals. Have let 3 players go. McDonald to Mansfield. Anderson to Stevenage. And Egan to Drogheda United. They've had a couple of retirements and a couple of loan deals ending, but I don't see a relegation battle for them. I think they've got enough to comfortably survive in mid-table with no issues. I'm going to say this and they'll be rock bottom. I can already tell they're going to end up rock bottom now that I've predicted them at this point. But 14th place is where I put Bristol Rovers. I think they're going to be fine. I don't think there's going to be any issues for the Pirates, I think it is they're called. I'm guessing by the badge they're called the Pirates, at least anyway. Up next is Burton Albion. This is a team that I'm always thinking, relegation, not relegation, I don't know. Will they go down? Will they stay up? And this year, I predicted them to stay up. I'm going to be honest with you. They brought in some good business. Cole Stockton from Morecambe, that's a good lower league striker. Granted, he was with Morecambe, he did well with them, but of course Morecambe had gone down. So Cole Stockton has jumped ship to Burton. Caprice from Exeter, probably pronounced that wrong, as well as Blackman in goal from Exeter as well. A good lower league goalkeeper. So not some bad business done at all by Burton. And they've let some players go, but not, well, maybe 1 or 2 big names. They've let Borthwick Jackson go to Poland on a free transfer, the Man United academy man, and they've also let Shaughnessy go to Portsmouth. Those are the big ones I can spot there. A couple of retirements, couple of free agencies, but nothing serious. I think they've got enough to stay up. I haven't put them in like a serious, they're fine kind of position. I put them 19th. Burton Albion are 19th in my predictions. I think they'll stay up. It won't be by much. It'll be like 5 or 6 points. But I think they'll have enough with quality in that squad that they've signed this summer to stay up. Again, I'd just like to reiterate, I don't know how good some of these players are because I know League One like I know Poland, the roads in Poland, because I've never been. So, up next, it is Cambridge, and I hate to do this because I don't mind Cambridge. I hate them on career mode because they always get one over on me, but Cambridge, they've made some decent signings. They brought in Kachunga from Bolton, Kai from MK Dons, Stevens from Oxford, and then Cousins from Wigan, as it says on here. They've promoted from within as well, a few players as well, but they've lost a key striker in Sam Smith, not the singer, before anyone fucking makes that joke. They've sold Mitov to St Johnstone. I know he's a good goalkeeper. From what I've seen, from what little I've seen of Cambridge, they sold Ironside, who wasn't as good as he used to be anyway, which makes a bit more sense. But they've also sold Nibs to Reading, who are going to be rivals in this league. So it's going to be difficult for Cambridge this year. And with the little amount, I mean, they've been a good amount of signings. It's not like they've been bad, but I don't know if they've replaced the quality they had that kept them up last year. So unfortunately, Cambridge, you're going to be the first team I predict to be relegated this year. I apologise in advance if you stay up. To any Cambridge fans watching, if you stay up, again, my apologies. But at this point, I don't see that there's enough quality in this side replaced from the quality last season. I know Sam Smith had an awful second half of the season. I saw news reports on it, but a very important striker still. And I just don't see them having enough this year to stay up. Watch them get promoted. Watch them get fucking promoted. Let me tell you now, they'll get promoted. Now I've predicted them. I'm gonna say 22nd, just for the record. They're not gonna get rock bottom in the league, but I don't think they're gonna stay up, unfortunately. Carlisle United. Now, usually I wouldn't take pleasure in predicting a team to go down, but I am now. Fuck Carlisle, honestly. They're gonna get relegated. Definitely not mad still that they beat Bradford in the playoff semi-finals. I don't know what you're on about. Put your accusations away. In all fairness, they've made some decent signings. They've got Maguire from Coventry, who is a good lower league striker. And they brought in Lavelle from Charlton, who's a solid centre-back at this level as well. McCalmont from Leeds. I recognise that name. But a lot of sales as well from the team that came up. Omari Patrick's the one that jumps out to me, mainly because he annoys me in-game as well. He's gone to Sutton. He probably isn't good enough to make the step up, to be fair. And ultimately, there's a lot more departures than there is incomings. So it's really a matter of, will Carlisle have enough depth, have enough of a squad to stay up? In my opinion, no. I haven't been ultra mean. I've put them 21st. I think they'll put up a good fight. With Carlisle. But I do want them to go back down because they beat Bradford. Yes, that's bias. Cry about it. But they will finish 21st and they will ultimately get relegated again. I guess again, they didn't get relegated once yet, but they will be going down this year. Up next then, Charlton Athletic. If my phone wants to work, which it is now deciding to work, which is a bonus. So, good signings actually from Charlton, to be honest, this window. I don't think there's been too much issue with bringing players in. They brought in Jones from Cambridge, Isted in from Luton, and they brought in Cheltenham's most prolific frontman, Alfie May. A good signing there from Charlton Athletic, and I think that with enough of that, they have let a few players go. Harness and Gilby to MK Dons, Innes to Forest Green, Morgan to Blackpool, and Clare to Wigan. They've also let Lavelle go to Carlisle. But I think they've got enough this year to... They won't get anywhere near playoffs, don't get me wrong. They won't get anywhere near playoffs. But I think they'll get a top half finish. I think they're going to finish 12th, right in the middle. They've not got enough, and they probably won't have enough for a while, to go up. But I'm not sure they're going to be in any danger of getting relegated. Maybe I've over-predicted Charlton a little bit here. Maybe they should be in the bottom half. But I've put them 12th, and we'll see, should they finish 12th, will they be able to make it to the Championship next year? I don't know. They might surprise me. They might even get relegated next year. That might surprise me as well. Last year, I predicted MK Dons to go up and they went down. So anything could happen in the season to come, which is what's so fun about it. What's so fun about doing these predictions and seeing how dumb I look in May when I'm all wrong with every single one. But anyway, up next, Cheltenham Town. They have brought in Davies from Derby, Smith from Dundee, Southwood from Reading, and then Partington from Larne, who I've never heard of because I'm going to be honest with you, and I don't think I think a lot of people actually could probably agree with me here. Nobody really watches the Irish League, do they? But they've also got rid of Broom, who, if you watch the last career mode episode, good riddance to Broom because I'm not going to spoil it, but he made my life hell in the career mode episode yesterday. Alfie May as well, leaving to Charlton. It's a main striker leaving the club as well. That's goals leaving the club, goals exiting the club. Whether they replace them is going to be a sight to see come the season, but I don't think it's going to be as hunky-dory as it was last year. I think they were like 14th, 15th. I think they'll drop a bit. I don't think they'll go down, but I think they'll drop a bit. I'm going to say a healthy, for them anyway, healthy 18th for Cheltenham Town. Now, up next is a team that I just don't really know where to put because I don't really know what they're going to bring. And I can probably guess at this point that my prediction is wrong. for Derby. I could probably say wholeheartedly that I'm probably incorrect here with this Derby prediction, but I just don't know where else to put them. Honestly, they brought in Bradley from Luton, Vickers from Rotherham, Joe Ward from Peterborough, Elder from Hull, and Nelson from Blackpool, as well as Washington across from Rotherham. Good signings brought in, but they've sold Jason Knight, they've sold Bielik. It's some interesting sales. Two big names going, but they've really replaced in those areas. But I'm probably wrong. I'm probably going to accept that my wrong here. I put them first. I've put Derby County to win the league. I did this last year, I think, and they didn't get close. And it might be 2 times that I'm wrong, but out of these teams, I don't know who wins the league. I didn't know who to put to win the league. That was the one position I had left at the end of my... When I was going through these and putting the table together, the one position I had left at the end was who's going to win the league. Because I know somebody has to. Don't get me wrong. I know somebody's got to finish first place. I just don't know who it's going to be. And I still don't know who it's going to be. But I need to get these videos out before the weekend. So I'm putting Derby there. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. But I just don't know who's going to win League One. Ultimately, it will probably end up being incorrect. And I will look like an idiot. But I've put them there now. And they've got good business coming in. But they sold 2 big names. I just don't know how they'll go with it. But I mean, the pressure's on them as well. They're probably one of the favourites to win League One at the same time. I don't think... I mean, I've got to stick with it now. Derby, first place is where I put them. I'm not really sure who's going to win the league. Again, somebody has to. Don't get me wrong, somebody has to. I just don't know who the fuck it'll be. Up next, then, is Exeter City. They've brought in some decent business, you know. They brought in Aitchison from Motherwell, who I do recognise the name of. And they've brought in some loanees from some of the Premier League clubs. Rankin from the Chelsea Under-21, Cine Salo from Aston Villa, and a Trevitt from Brentford. Might have some good experience, as well as promoting within 6 different players to the first team squad, which ain't too bad either. But they have sold a lot of first team players. At least I think they're first team players. I could be incorrect. Giovanni Brown off the Bristol Rovers, Blackman off the Burton Albion, along with Caprice. There's a lot of departures coming through, and I'm sure that the loanees this year will do the job for them, but next year they're going to have to build a bit more. I've put them 15th. I think they'll be fine. I don't think there's going to be any issues with Exeter's survival, but I don't know if they've bought correctly here, to be honest with you. I think they needed to bring in some permanent ideas into this club. They haven't done. Not a lot of money's changed hands, really, but that's what happens when you're League One and League Two. We'll have to wait and see if these loanees pay off, pretty much, for Exeter. I'm hoping they do. I'm hoping they can stay up. But that's purely because of my predictions. I've not got really anything in that I like Exeter. I'm not really fussed either way about Exeter, but I just want a prediction to be right, really. This was a difficult one because last year I predicted Fleetwood to go down, and they stayed up. Now this year, I've predicted them to stay up. They're going to go down, aren't they? They're going to get relegated because I predicted them to stay up. They brought in some good business, to be fair. Mayer from Plymouth. They brought in Broom from Cheltenham. Montgomery from Celtic on a loan deal as well. But a few departures as well, with Andrew off to Cambridge, Cairns off to Salford, and then the free agency now of Boyle, Batty and Johnson. Not to mention that Montgomery will obviously go back to Celtic at the end of the season. It's not a lot of business done by Fleetwood. And to say they only just stayed up last year, I've put them 20th. I think they'll only just stay up again. But my God, if this fucking team get relegated after last season, I predict them to go down, and they stay up, shit's going to hit the fan. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to be very happy, I suppose, is probably the correct expression in that respect. But good luck to Fleetwood. If you go down, though, I'm going to be pissed because I predicted you to stay up this year. I've got faith in you. Up next, then, the League Two champions of last year, Leyton Orient, doing some fantastic business as they've come up to League One once again. Ethan Galbraith from our under-21s, us being Manchester United, in case you're not aware. Support Man United. Ethan Galbraith signing for Leyton Orient. They've also signed Joel Piggott from Ipswich and Dan Aguier from Crewe. They've really reinforced the attack a bit more. But the problem is with Leyton Orient, and this is why I don't see them going back-to-back in terms of promotions. They've sold Smythe to QPR. They've sold Vigouroux to Burnley. They've sold Clay to Sutton United. There's a lot of big departures there, and granted they have replaced in those areas, but I don't think they're going to have the same quality as what they had. Although I suppose maybe they went because their League Two was their limit. I don't know. Vigouroux I've seen play well. And Smythe we know is a good player. Obviously he's gone into the Championship now. Vigouroux's gone to the bloody Premier League, so it's difficult really. But ultimately, I don't think Leyton Orient will run for playoffs. I don't think they'll be in any situation though where they're in a relegation battle. I predicted them 11th, which may be a bit high up. I've seen people predict them higher. 11th is where I put Leyton Orient, and this is what I'm thinking because of, even though they brought good players in, they've also got rid of a lot of good players too. So it's going to be a difficult season for them to go back to back. But I don't think relegation is going to be an issue for the O's. At least I hope it isn't. I don't mind Leyton Orient. There's like I'm gonna be straight up here. There's a couple of clubs I got like a soft spot for, but there's not. I don't really follow them to the depths that I know what the bloody hell's going on with them. There's teams I'd like to see succeed, which is kind of a lot of teams, to be fair. Up next, then Lincoln City. So just take a look at their deals here. They've signed in Walker from Coventry, Brown from Sheffield Wednesday, Smith from Sutton United, and then Jensen from the Burnley under-21s. And some loan deals in and out of the club here. They've sold Regan Poole for Man United Academy player. They sold Sanders to Leyton Orient, and a couple of players going as well. Grimsby have signed Vernon, who I remember from Bradford City. I'm just trying to recognise names who I've seen from clubs that I do like. I don't see them having any issues this year. They've brought in some good talent, especially Burnley under 21s. He might be good. I don't know. I've not heard a lot. They brought in Hackett from Portsmouth as well. I do recognise that name. So that's not too bad either. And a couple of players that have been promoted from the youth academy setup at Lincoln. I've predicted them a good season in terms of them, I suppose. I feel like it's a good season. I think Lincoln would accept this season. I put them 13th. It's just in the bottom half, but it's by no means a relegation fight. It's by no means any trouble for Lincoln. I reckon they'll be fine. I reckon they'll be absolutely fine with no hint of relegation. Knowing me now, they'll finish 24th. But no, in all seriousness, I think they'll stick around. And I don't think there'll be too many issues for the Imps this year. Up next, then, Northampton. Did they win the playoffs or did they come through automatically? They came through automatically. Bloody Carlisle won the playoffs. Am I on something? But yeah, Northampton came through automatically. They got promoted. I thought they'd get promoted last year. I think I predicted them to win the league. And they came up third, I think it was. So I'll take that. Patrick Bruff in from Barrow. Monte from Walsall. And some loans from Brighton, Fulham and Huddersfield. I mean, they've strengthened their squad quite a bit. Leaving the club, though, there's quite a few players. Big one, Maxted to Newport. Tom King's gone to Wolves as well. And then Harrop as well, who's caused me chaos in career mode. He is now a free agent. Maybe not as good in real life as what he is in career mode. But anyway, Northampton, I think they're going to survive with no real issues. I maybe over-predicted them here. I think Northampton might be dragged more into a relegation battle than what I've predicted them to be. I put them 16th. I think they're going to be fine, but I'm kind of second-guessing it a little bit. I'm not going to change it now, though. But it's probably not going to be as high and mighty. For some of these promotion teams, I think I probably over-predicted them, if I'm being real with you. But ultimately, Northampton, I think, will stay up with no issues. Then again, I've got a newly promoted team back in the relegation zone. So, who knows, really. But Northampton, 16th. A good season, a steady season. No issues, really. Oxford was a hard one to put down because I thought last year... Because the year before, they finished like 8th or 9th or something near playoffs. I thought last year they'd do something similar. I think I put them 9th or 10th. And they ended up finishing 17th. So, a big fall from grace from Oxford. Ultimately, though, they've signed decently. Not incredibly in this window. They've got McEachran from MK Dons. Thornley from Blackpool. Rodriguez from Notts County. That promoted Notts County team from the National League, of course. And then Harris from Cardiff. Some loans in as well from the likes of Brighton and Everton under 21s, as well as a Brentford loanee too. But the departures as well. Taylor to Forest Green, Stevens to Cambridge, Jones to Notts County. Couple of departures, couple of signings as well. It's kind of 50-50 balance with the expenditures and the sales from Oxford United. So I think they're going to have a similar season to last year. Maybe I shouldn't have predicted them as high as I did last season. They finished like 17th last year. This year I've put them in the exact same place, 17th place. I think they might get sucked into a relegation scrap early on, but they'll end up waking up and get into a good spot where they are safe, in my opinion. So fair play to Oxford if they do survive. If they get relegated, I'm going to be a little bit annoyed. And if they get higher, then like if they get 9th or 10th, like I predicted last year, it's on site. I'm telling you that. I'm joking. In all seriousness, Oxford, I think they'll finish in about the same position as last year. Up next then, Peterborough. Very, very, very unfortunate not to be a championship team, to be honest with you. 4-0 up in the first leg of the semi-finals against Sheffield Wednesday at London Road. And then you go to Hillsborough and you lose 5-1 and you lose on penalties. It's just, I mean, you have to perform on the playoff stage. And they did in the first leg, but the second leg they just capitulated. I remember listening to that match. I couldn't watch it because I wasn't home. But I remember listening to that match on commentary. Oh my god, what a fucking match from what I've seen, what I heard anyway. A crazy comeback from Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, the Peterborough play another season in League One. And I've gone a bit bold here. I think they're going to get playoffs again. I think Peterborough will make playoffs again. 4th place. They've held on to some of their best players. They've brought in Ramoni Critchlow from Huddersfield. They brought in Talley from the Brighton under-21s, as well as some free agents as well. I think some more free transfers even, not free agents, I should say. Collins from Exeter. Shamanga, who had a great season with Chesterfield. And they brought in Kyoso from Rotherham. They have sold a few players as well. Taylor up to Ipswich. A couple of players off to Stevenage, as well as Norburn to Blackpool. Pym out to Mansfield, but he wasn't doing as good as he initially had been at Peterborough anyway. So decent bit of transfer business there. I've put them in the playoffs again, and I'm going one step further. I think they're going to win the bloody playoffs. That's what I've put in my predictions anyway. I think Peterborough win the playoffs, and I'm probably going to end up being wrong. They'll probably finish like 12th or something, but I think Peterborough come up this time. They always seem to be that perennial switch between League One and Championship side, and I think they're going to get back up to the Championship next season, or this season coming, obviously. So yeah, 4th place for Peterborough with a playoff win. Up next then, Port Vale, and I feel a bit bad doing this because they had a decent season. Hold on. They've done it the wrong way around on this app, but that's okay. We could scroll back up. But Port Vale bringing in some decent players. Luke Weiler from Oldham, Iacovitti from Ross County, a decent striker in the Scottish League, nothing special. But despite all these incomings, I don't think they're gonna be good enough. And I've probably got Port Vale completely wrong here, but I didn't really know who else to put in the relegation zone. I don't want to put Fleetwood in there because they'll end up surviving. So I put Port Vale in 23rd. I'm regretting it already. But when it comes to the end of the season, they do get relegated. I'll be a little bit happier. They did survive last year, but despite all this talent, I don't think that they'll be able to hold on this year. There's a lot of people leaving as well. Worrell off to Barrow, Stone to Notts County, Proctor to Barrow as well, Forrester to Bolton, and some free agency as well for some of these players. I don't think they were in the first team anyway, but some just haven't signed new contracts. Ultimately, I don't think they're going to stay up. And maybe 23rd is a bit harsh. Maybe I should have put 21st and 22nd. I was going to move them all around a little bit, but I think this is probably the right order, to be honest. And maybe Port Vale's a bit harsh here to put in 23rd. But we'll see if I'm right or wrong by the end of the season. Again, League One knowledge is pretty much zero, so they'll probably end up being getting promoted or something. But Port Vale, I've got them in 23rd. I apologise to any Port Vale fans if you stay up. Up next then, Portsmouth. Yeah, Portsmouth I've overcooked this one. I've overrated this one. I put Portsmouth in 3rd, and to be honest, I don't really know who else to put in that playoff spot. I don't think anyone else will get there, so I put Portsmouth there. And I'm feeling that it could be their year once again. They'll get the playoffs. They won't go up because I've already predicted Peterborough to be playoff winners. But I think Portsmouth will be in the conversation at the very least. Some good signings. Poole from Lincoln, White from Cardiff, Stevenson from Forest Green, Shaughnessy from Burton Albion as well, Norris from Burnley, of all clubs as well, and then Schofield from Huddersfield, Sparks from Exeter. They've signed players from Bournemouth, Wigan, and they've promoted from within as well. So some good signings. They've had a few departures. Nothing serious though. Most of them being loan departures. Thompson and Robertson leaving the club. Hackett off to Lincoln City as well. But not a lot of exits. A few free agencies that they just haven't renewed, which I don't think a lot of them win the first team anyway. And I think Portsmouth, looking back at this, I thought I'd maybe overestimated Portsmouth at first. But now looking back, I think this is probably about the right spot. I've maybe overdone it a little bit. I think they'll get playoffs. Maybe third's a bit too high. But playoffs is definitely in Portsmouth's future, in my opinion. So I put them third. They're not going to win the playoffs, but they're definitely going to be about it, in my opinion. Up next then, Reading, who I'm surprised they went down, to be honest. They've obviously had their issues with finances and just in general on the pitch. I didn't think they'd actually end up getting relegated. I thought they'd stay up, and they did not stay up. They went down. And they've gotten some decent talents for this level, I should say. Harry Nibbs from... Is it Harry? I don't know if it's Harry, but Nibbs from Cambridge. Sam Smith from Cambridge as well. They've raided Cambridge this year for their attacking players, and they might work well in the Reading system. They've also signed Charlie Savage from Manchester United's under-21s. Don't want to sound bad to poor Charlie Savage, but probably his level as well. So that's that for that. And then with sales as well, they've sold Puskas to Genoa, but I don't know why, to be honest with you. Ultimately, they've also sold Tom Ince. They've sold Joao as well, who's a decent striker. They've sold Meite, I don't know how you pronounce it, to Cardiff as well on a free transfer. Some big departures, and I don't see them going straight back up, if I'm being honest. I've put them 6th, so I think they'll be in playoffs. I think they'll finish in a playoff spot, but I don't think they will go up. And that might be mean, that might be cruel, but I think it's correct, in my opinion, honestly. But yeah, Reading, I don't see them going straight back up, which is probably correct. It's just a matter of what will they do? What will they do this season? And I think playoffs is probably the right thing. Up next then, Shrewsbury, always another difficult one to predict, because I feel like when I start these predictions each year, I feel like, Shrewsbury aren't going to do much. They'll probably be in a relegation battle. But each season, I kind of look at the table, kind of watch highlights. They seem to do better and better each season. So I've not put them down the wrong end of the table this time. I put them at the top end of the table. Not very, very top. Don't get me wrong. I finished with putting them ultimately. I was considering putting them a bit further down, but ultimately I've placed them 10th. Which is probably overcooking it again. I don't think they'll maybe be 10th, but I think they'll get top half finish. Parker, Winchester being brought in as well. Players from the under-21s of Barnsley and Wolves. They've signed Feeney from Carlisle. Anderson on the loan from Sunderland as well. And the loan from Luton for Thorpe. They've promoted from within. Signed Bloxham on loan from Morecambe as well, who's a decent striker at this level. And they have let a lot of players go. Bevan, Craig, Barlow, Pike, Pennington and Catton, all leaving the club. But ultimately, it's going to be... I think it's going to be an okay season for them. Maybe I think I've probably overpredicted here now looking back at this. But Shrewsbury, I always seem to predict them too low and end up finishing higher than what I predicted. So if I predict them high, they'll finish lower. You know, it's a mind game. I'm playing mind games with this prediction. But now I put them 10th. And I think they'll have a solid season. Now this is a difficult one because, of course, if you know me, my Stevenage... I kind of documented it in a Discord server, but my Stevenage career mode is the stuff of legends, which is why it makes it all the more difficult to predict them rock bottom of League One. And I've seen they've done business. They've done some good business. They brought in Thompson from Portsmouth, Freeman from Wickham, Anderson as well from Bristol Rovers, Thompson from Peterborough, another Thompson, and then McDonald from Gillingham. They brought in players from Brentford's B team, Fulham under-21s. They've even loaned in a player from Man City under-21s. But A lot of departures. Bostwick going away, Clark going away, Smith and Reeves exiting the club as well. Luke Norris going to Danny Rose. There's a lot of change at Stevenage, and I don't think they'll be able to cope with the pace of League One, if I'm being cruel. If I'm being transparent, I just don't see them staying up. And maybe, I wouldn't say rock bottom. Rock bottom was probably a bad way of putting it. 24th is where I put them. I don't think it'll be by as much of a distance as what Forest Green were last season. I don't think they'll definitely be in the relegation zone for the majority of the season, and I think they will finish bottom. And I apologise if they stay up and do well, but I just don't see it personally, and I apologise again. But also, I've got ties with Stevenage from FIFA 22, so it hurts to do a little bit, to be honest with you. Two teams left then. We've got Wigan Athletic up next, who I thought were going to do bits in the Championship last year. I think everyone thought they were going to do bits. They didn't. Just straight up didn't. Finished bottom of the league. Not really any great performances throughout the season. And I don't see them going back up anytime soon, or at least not this season. I've put them 8th. I think they'll be in that area, but I don't think they'll really threaten in the playoff race. They've brought in Smith from BURTON Albion, Clare from Charlton, and another Smith from the Arsenal Under-21s. They've loaned in Liam Shaw from Celtic as well. And they brought in Callum McManaman. I think he was already there. It says without club. I'm assuming, was he not already there? Or he was there at one point. It really shows how much I bloody know. They've also signed a Jay Stones from Ross County. It's not a John Stones, but they've I think that's him leaving actually. I can't really tell with some of these dates, but they've sold a few players as well. Watmouth to Preston, or Watmouth to Preston, Jones to Middlesbrough, Tilt to Salford. The very well named Max Power out to Saudi Arabia as well. Derico leaves as well. Cousins, Scully, Naylor, Graham Shinney back to Aberdeen. A lot of free agency. There's actually a lot of departures here. I'm wondering if I predicted them too high. I put them in 8th. I'm wondering if I put them too high. It's going to be a changing season for Wigan. They struggled last year, and I don't think they'll struggle too much this year, but they will not be in the playoffs or in a promotion battle, unfortunately, for Wigan. I put them 8th. I'm sort of regretting it, but we'll see. And then the final team, I'm going to be honest with you, there was only one spot left on the board, and I didn't really want to move any of the other teams around. So there's one place I put Wigan. I've kind of made a Simpsons character there. Wickham, but obviously they're going to be in 9th for anyone who's not kept up with the predictions, which I don't blame you. I only know where to put them because I've written it down this year. But 9th for Wickham is where I put them. They're always a solid team. They're always in there and about it. They're just never the team that you expect to go up, and they probably won't go up again. They've signed Charlotte from the Palace Under-18s, Vincent Young and Keogh from Ipswich, and Lee from Shrewsbury. They've also promoted from within, brought some loans in as well. Breckin from the Man City Under-21s, Potts from the West Ham Under-21s, and some decent signings. They've got a few players going out, though, with Freeman going to Stevenage, Wing going to Reading, Horgan leaving for the Irish League, and then Obita as well to Scotland. A few free agencies as well, leaving the club, not renewing the contracts. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's probably not the right place to put Wickham, if I'm being transparent. I've probably been too nice. But I didn't think any other teams needed or deserved to be moved around. So 9th was kind of just the last place left for Wickham. And I think it's probably in the ballpark. They'll probably get top half, but playoffs, it might be a bit too much for them this year, and I don't know if they're going to do it. But, ladies and gentlemen, that will wrap up my ball knowledgeless League One predictions. Ultimately, I think it's around kind of a right to say I've absolutely no idea what I'm doing with these predictions. I think it's around the ballpark. I think it's similar to what a lot of people have put. Not I'm trying to copy people. I'm trying to use my own brain here. But I think it's an okay list. I don't think there's anything that's out of the ordinary. It's like stupid. I'll see at the end of the year if I've proven wrong. Portsmouth may be a bit of an overshot. Wickham might be in the wrong place, but I just couldn't think of where else to put them, and I didn't really want to move any of the other teams. The bottom 4 might be a disaster by the end of the season. Probably Port Vale, I feel like I've already gotten wrong, but we'll see how that goes. I'm going to stick to these now, and obviously if you don't understand where I put everybody, if I've not explained it all too well, of course, in the YouTube video link, or YouTube video description, There will be a link to a League One prediction spreadsheet. I'll put the teams in there of the order that I predicted them, and then I'll put the result at the end of the year so you can see how different the actual table was in May as to what I predicted it just now. But ladies and gentlemen, that will wrap up the League One predictions. I'll be doing League Two later today. Maybe a little biased on some clubs, but we'll see how that goes. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this one, and if you're a supporter of the teams I've put down into the relegation zone, I apologise. It's just what I think it's going to be. I feel bad putting relegation teams in because I don't want to wish on anyone's downfall except for Carlisle's. But I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for League Two predictions.